How can I stand up to my inner critic? You are in a war inside of you. When you're caught in that internal battle and your inner critic is just raging, it is really hard. The inner critic separates you from every facet of your life. You have to know your power. We do not have to stay stuck in a self-imposed prison. What are the resources I have?
Let's start with number one.
I found that to be one of the most challenging parts of the battle with my inner critic.
And this is something that we are all navigating. It's something we don't talk about very often. This is about Hey, Heart Leader fam, it's your co-host Austin here, and I'm so excited about today's episode because we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to be diving into the 4 most common ways that the inner critic takes over. And this is something that everyone, at least everyone that I've ever met, I've not met all 9 billion people on the planet, but at least everyone that I've ever met can relate to. We all tend to have that pesky little voice in our head that likes to tell us that we're not worthy or we're not good enough or you name it. All the negative stuff. As Amber always talks about, how we have 80% on average, 80% of our thoughts are negative. And so that leaves a lot of room for that inner critic to come in and just take over our thoughts and how we're feeling and just exactly how we're actually going through the world on a day-to-day basis. So really wanted to take this time today to walk through the 4 most common ways that the inner critic does show up. And this has been great feedback from amazing people just like you, sharing with us what they've been struggling with and how the inner critic is actually showing up in their world. And so we kind of want to walk through and just kind of we'll share some fun things that we've learned, some great tools, some great tips. And we'll kind of dive in and you'll get to experience Amber on a whole other level as the author of this best-selling book. And you'll get to really do a deep dive with her on each of these 4. So let's get started. Hi, my love.
Hi. I get to be interviewed by you and talk about the book. This is going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's only been a couple months still since it came out.
I know.
This month, we are, crazy enough, we're in all the airports,
I know.
right?
Yeah, it can go flying with you.
So if you're out traveling right now, like go grab it.
Yeah,
Because
Hudson's.
exactly, Hudson. So we'll do our best to maybe put a list of potential ones. We don't know exactly all of them, but it's in a vast majority of them.
Yeah, and if it's not in the Hudson's that you set foot into, then ask them because they can get it. And it would be just wonderful to be in all the Hudson's bookstores, but you can also order it online from Hudson's, which is awesome. So even if it's not in the Hudson's that you're in, they can order it and get it in if you're coming back through that airport, or you can order it yourself. But the cool thing is that means when you're on the airplane, you can be empowering your inner champion. So wherever you land, you are powered up and ready to go. And it's kind of an epic experience. So yeah, it's awesome.
Amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they gave us a discount code, right?
If you order online,
If you
you
order
can
online?
save 20%. Yes.
Okay, we'll put that down in the description below so
Yep.
that they can access that. But let's dive in. So
Okay.
there are 4 common ways, and we've been talking about the silence your inner critic for quite a while now, even through the writing process and everything like that. We even did a whole podcast series. We actually have a playlist all about that, walking people through the initial stages of what you were writing.
Yes, because it was something that I personally had experienced so deeply, and it was a huge part of my own, I would even say my own spiritual journey, my own journey of getting to know who I am, reconnecting with myself. Because when the inner critic gets in there and starts making you question everything about what you know of you, it separates you from every facet of your life. That's one of its major superpowers, right? It's villainous superpowers, if you will. Because that's the thing with a villain, right? It has its own superpowers. And part of its superpower is to cut you off from yourself and from everything you know and make you feel like you're on an island all your own. Having gone through that, as I was navigating in creating this book, I really desired to understand our shared journeys. Was I the only one who was experiencing these things? Because if so, I didn't desire to put it in the book, right? That's not going to help everyone. I might really be on an island on my own, and that's okay. Sometimes we are.
Yeah, there's
But
not a chapter about the inner critic when it comes to peeling potatoes. That
exactly.
may be a
Now, there
personal
might
thing,
be
but
more people who have an inner critic yelling at them peeling potatoes. Who knows? But it's not a common one,
yes.
right? So that's why we did it, is to really say, hey, how common is this? And where do we really have big intersections and overlaps? And it helped a lot. We got a lot of feedback from our amazing community. I love you all. Thank you for not leaving me on the island by myself. It
Yes,
was
yeah, it has
helpful.
been. It's been great, and we've got 4 of them today. And I feel like everyone's going to relate to each one in a different way.
Yeah.
1 through 3 will seem probably a little more common, but I would say the 4th one, the final one, that you'll definitely want to make sure that you listen to
Stay and
is,
listen.
yeah, this is a strong one because it will once we talk about it and you dive into it, I feel it'll seem obvious. It's like, how is this not, like, this is something that I think everyone to some degree really, really struggles with in some way. And so it's just important for us to be able to talk about it freely and openly and just know that, hey, like, this is a big part of our human experience. And
Yeah.
it's normal to have an inner critic pop up in this area, but it's also something we need to start listening to more as a society.
Yes, because often if you bring it up as a member of society, you get shamed for it, which
Yes.
then just feeds your inner critic.
Yes.
So you get in this spiral, this stealth spiral almost, because it's hidden.
Mhm.
It's just so taboo. And so you suffer in silence with your inner critic just kicking your own backside over and over for even having this. But the more I was willing to say, "Hey, this is what's happening for me," so many people were like, "Ooh, it's okay to talk about this?"
Mm.
So I think it's important that we do talk about this. So yeah, we'll talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's start with number 1.
Do you ever get tired of that negative voice in your head telling you what you can and cannot do? My name is Amber Mikesell, and I personally got tired of that villainous voice controlling my inner realm. So I wrote this book, Silence Your Inner Critic. It's a comic book type series where you go in and you fight that villainous foe all along an epic quest. You can learn more about this fun filled adventure over at silenceyourinnercritic.com, and you can purchase your copy right there, or you can purchase it wherever you enjoy buying books.
We'll kind of ease into this because I think this is a first and foremost common one that I personally have really struggled with throughout my life,
Okay.
and a lot of people do. And even this is an area, like, even in our flagship course that we're creating for Inner Critic, this is an area that I really talk about, like, because it's really hits home for me. And
Okay.
this is body image and self worth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like even if you have what we would as a society consider an amazing body, there's still something that you look at your body and go, oh, I don't like that. And we have to wonder, where did that come from? I can remember back in my 30s, and I'll look back now at images of myself in my early 30s, and I had a really nice form, like really nice form.
I think you still do, personally, my love.
Well, thank you. But this was at a point where I shouldn't have been looking at myself and criticizing my body at all. But there was just this inner voice that I had adopted that didn't know how to shut up. And so I now looking at these images, I'm like, wow. But at that point in my life, I was looking at my body and going, why is this there? And why is this there? And if only I looked like this person or this person, and constantly comparing myself. And so I had these awful body image issues. I I wasn't healthy at the time anyway. I was already battling physical ailments. And all I was doing on top of that then was chastising my body, which was already suffering, and throwing more shame and blame on it for not looking like somebody else's body. And my inner critic was just going to town on all of that. And I'm feeding its villainous powers with everything I was doing. And then I start talking to other people and they're doing the same thing. Like everybody's body is so beautiful. If we think about the miracle that it is just to have a body, right? And we don't give credit for that. We don't take power from knowing that we, cell by cell, created a physical form to navigate this amazing physical world. That's pretty freaking cool.
It's amazing.
And instead of being empowered by that, we're tearing it down.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
And a vast majority of the time, we're not doing it to others, right?
Yeah.
We're not looking at someone and constantly judging the way they look like we do ourselves.
Not to the level we do
Mhm.
ourselves, unless we're in a death spiral
Yeah.
on ourselves. And then we start doing it to others.
Mhm. That's true. Yeah, and this is definitely an area for me, and very similar. In my 20s, I was in the best shape of my life, and even then, I'd look at myself and be like, "Why am I so fat?"
Mhm.
And I had visible abs, and it's like that was the mental struggle that I saw. No matter what clothes I was wearing, or I would change like 3 times, because I felt fat in clothing.
Uh-huh.
And it's amazing what we can do to our mental framework,
Yeah.
um, in a negative way, and constantly just like, why don't I look like, why don't I have, a 6 pack or an 8 pack? Why do I only have, four?
Yeah.
Like, what's
Where did
wrong
the
with
other
me?
ones
Yeah.
go?
Why is
Did I
that?
sell them
Yeah.
somewhere?
So
Yeah.
it's just, or why don't I have more defined arms? Or why don't, there was
Yeah.
always a reason to be upset. Instead, and I was working out a ton. I was putting my body through a lot, instead of taking the time to say, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, body, for giving me the opportunity to train that hard, to actually receive the training and get stronger, to be such an empowering physical manifestation of what holds my soul.
Yes. And that's the whole flipping the script tool
Yeah.
that we talk about in Silence Your Inner Critic, right? Because it is so easy to get caught in those dungeons of doom
Mhm.
that our inner critic can trap us in. Looking back, even now, I say I look at those images from when I was younger and say, oh, my body was rocking back then. But you know what? You're right. My body is rocking even now,
Yeah, it is, baby.
right? So if I could get caught in a dungeon again, it would be looking back and wishing for that form. But the form I have now is amazing. So I have to flip the script and not get caught in past desires of wishing I still looked like that. I need to be grateful for how I look right now
Yeah.
and always flip that script so that we can look at where we are and be grateful for the positives in where we are, so that that 2% of positive that we get to move to like 3%.
Mm.
And that neutral space now starts to at least move more into positive, and we're consistently moving the mark into more positive framework because we're flipping at least the neutral space that we're in more into a positive framework of thought, especially when it comes to our body, right? Because our bodies navigate a lot in this world, a lot. We are busy constantly. We always have stuff coming at us. If we can't take the time to be grateful for what is moving us through this experience, it picks up on that. And our inner critic is going to take that to the bank and use it every time.
Mm.
So if we can just take a couple of moments to just flip our framework of thinking and feeling about our body, even just one thing about our body, one, just one, it makes a huge difference and gives you that little gap where you can start to move the needle on some positive thinking.
And one of the great tools in the book that you share for that is the mirror technique.
Yeah.
And that's such a good one. One that's I remember the first time that I attempted it to look at myself, and I couldn't even look at myself for a couple seconds, and just how, no pun intended, eye-opening that was to to me to realize, like, I spent so much time attempting to make myself look presentable, and then when the time came for me to look at myself, I couldn't.
Yeah. And we
What's
don't mean just check your hair
No, yeah,
or check your clothes. Like,
correct.
sincerely look at yourself like you would the person you love more than anything in this world.
Mm,
Because shouldn't you be one of the people you love more than anybody else in the world?
yeah. And for clarity, not from a narcissistic standpoint, but
Right.
from a deep honoring and yeah,
Respect.
respect. And I want to say even the word reverence for yourself. Like there's still like there's a beauty in that. It's honestly, to me, it's like honoring the divine. It's like seeing the divine within yourself is one of the most beautiful things that we can do.
Yeah. The inner critic is going to pull you under every time if you don't have a deep reverence, care, and love for who you are,
Yeah.
right? That's what a superhero has. They know their power.
Mm.
You have to know your power. And you can only know your power by loving yourself and the power that you have within. Like, I know my power and I know my worth. Again, not from a conceited standpoint. I know your power and I know your worth.
Yeah.
I'm not better than you. We just have different power centers and different things we came here to bring forward,
Yeah.
right?
Such a good point. And yeah, there's a reason why body image and self worth are so tied together because they really feed and fuel each other in a very negative way. And what you just said is one of those ways. It's really, if we if we celebrate someone else's, like you're saying, I know your strengths, like that doesn't cancel out mine.
Yeah.
And it's that's it seems like it's because we've so taught in society this or mentality. It's one or the other.
Yep.
Then if you're celebrating someone else in the way that they're showing up in the world or the way that they're maybe they're just doing something better than you, or and that's okay. It's like, okay, but you can be skilled in the same area as well, but you can just also get better too. And that doesn't mean just because someone else is better than you doesn't make your self-worth less. It gives you an opportunity to know what is possible. And there's no one saying you can't get it better than ever. You could be the best in the world at whatever it is that you're skilled at. And that doesn't cancel out someone else either.
Yes. And it makes it so fun.
It does.
Like, that's the cool part.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot in the book and in our upcoming retreat
Yeah.
that's focused on, body image and self-worth because it is such an infiltrated part where the inner critic comes in and gets in. I mean, heck, the beauty industry, as much as I love the fitness and beauty industry, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry because we all have this inner critic that constantly tells us that we are not good enough, right? Where it is amazing to have the fitness and the beauty industry. They really help us build our self-worth. And when used as a tool to assist, it's amazing. But there will never, ever, ever be a beauty product or a quick fix as amazing as self-confidence.
Mm.
And the quickest way to build your self-confidence is to connect with your self-worth, your self-knowing, and truly find that inner connection with self-love.
Chills, baby. Love
Truth,
it.
baby. Truth.
Thank you for that. Uh, so number two,
Number 2.
number two. What's a Scrubs reference for anyone who's
Yeah. For those of us who speak in TV shows and movie quotes.
Yes. I mean, they're all important, so I don't want to say like,
Yeah,
oh, this
we're
one's
not
important. They're all
in, yeah,
important. Yeah, there's
not in order of importance,
yeah.
just in which one we're talking about next.
Exactly. So, career and personal success.
Yeah.
This is one where the inner critic definitely shows up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'd like you to dive into this a little bit. I've got some thoughts, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. But yeah, I just where do you see people struggle the most in this specific area?
Well, I definitely have some feels, that's for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and observations. So, observationally, from coaching, from ministerial, and across the board, we have so many cultures, whether it be work cultures, family cultures, just cultures in our society that are built on hierarchy, right? And to feel valuable, you must be at a higher stage in the hierarchy. And if you are not, then that begins to feed the inner critic. And again, our self esteem goes crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you look at what success means, especially in your career or your job, it is the position you hold and not the value that you provide.
Mm.
That becomes self defeating from a soul's perspective because our soul is here to provide value, to feel like we are contributing. And that might not always yield a higher place on a hierarchical scale. Like maybe my soul feels like I am providing so much value in a role that is lower on a hierarchy. But man, I feel like I am contributing so much to society and helping so greatly. But my family doesn't see it that way. My culture doesn't see it that way. So now I'm in a position, do I choose my soul or do I choose what all of this sees as success?
Mm.
My inner critic is in a battle with me now.
Mm.
And that begins to just create like you are in a war inside of you.
Mm.
Again, this was a huge one for me. I faced that war, right? I knew what my soul kept calling me to do. I felt it. I kept being drawn toward these things. And I didn't know, do I just do this as a part of me within a culture that felt like a job culture, career culture that didn't feel like it aligned? Could I integrate both? Do I just do it as a hobby on the side? How do I reconcile this part of my soul that is calling me so strongly? And when you're caught in that internal battle and your inner critic is just raging, it is really hard to feel like your contributions are leading you to success, even if on paper you look incredibly successful,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So personal success may not feel the same as career success. And that creates such a conflict.
Yeah. And quite the breeding ground for the inner critic to really,
Mess with your
mess with your head.
head.
Yeah. We've talked to plenty of people who, maybe they or just seen stories of just people who, like, their culture or even their family, they wanted them to be lawyers or doctors. Instead, they wanted to be a chef or a comedian or, something that was like,
Social worker,
yeah, and it could all these different things.
anything.
And if these individuals had let their inner critic, direct take over and direct their actions, some of these people are now the best in their field. The
Yeah.
best chefs or the best comedians are, the most impactful social workers. Like, they're redefining what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
And so those are important people. We need those kind of people to keep expanding society. And so it's, one of my saddest thoughts I feel constantly is thinking about all the lost potential due to the inner critic, because it's so easy to fall into that trap of listening.
Yes.
When the people who are supposed to love you and care for you, and I want to take this moment to quickly say, a lot of people are doing it because they feel like it's the best thing. They're doing it out of love,
Love. Hmm.
and that's, I understand that and I get that. We've all been there. But also,
But
but also,
maybe,
maybe pulling someone away from what makes them the best version of themselves just because you're afraid or you can't see what the other person can see isn't the most loving thing you can do.
yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
And so all we can do is when we look at if you're in that position and your inner critic has you locked in that battle of career and personal success, and you feel like you're being split and you don't know what to do, what are tools that can help you understand how to move through that battle? What is in your arsenal? How can your inner champion rise and meet that battle? Right?
Yeah.
Because that is a challenging battle. You are not the only one in that battle, right? You do have the people in your workplace or the people in your family or the people in your culture. This is when that battle becomes expansive beyond self.
Mm.
I found that to be one of the most challenging parts of the battle with my inner critic. When it went beyond me, and I'll use my own example, right? I walked in and quit a position that was very beneficial for my family. That went beyond me, right? That now impacted my family in a way that I had to consider. But that was a battle between my soul and my inner critic. How do I navigate that? I had to utilize every tool in my arsenal to know what was important for me and then communicate that to everyone else who was going to be in the fallout
Mm.
of that battle. And that's something I think is very, very important that we consider when we talk about these tools, right? Because that's something that I know I sat and thought about. Yeah, if it was just me, it's very easy, but it's not just me. And if I were watching this podcast, I'd be like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but I have this person and this person and this person. I understand that because I was there and I had a lot of people. And so personal success and career success can put you in very challenging situations. And so what you really have to do is look at the tools that you have in your arsenal and start to ask yourself as you're mapping them out, what is my soul calling me to do? And if I feel like it's in direct conflict with what my career is taking me toward, then what are the reconciliation factors that I can have? How can I stand up to my inner critic? What are the resources I have? And as I do that and I wage this war against my inner critic, if leaving my career is one of the things that I do feel is a necessary step, then how do I then align all of the people that I care about in a way that they understand? As you said, being the best chef, if the rest of my family doesn't understand that, they may never understand it in the way that I need them to. But how do I not let that then become more ammunition for my inner critic and allow that to take me down in the progress of following my soul's mission, right? We have to really understand and create our battle strategy. And that is a huge part of this. And that's why coming together with other individuals, other superheroes who are on the same growth plan as you is so important. And we talk about this retreat that we have coming up. It's like our own camartage, right?
Yes.
We're coming together to practice our own superpowers and develop our arsenal and our strategies to go up against that inner critic. Because if we do it on our own, then it can become overwhelming. But when we do it together and then we execute our strategies together, just like Doctor Strange did with his team, right? It is so much easier because it isn't as overwhelming. So that's what I'd say. And let me tell you, in career and personal growth, it can really become very, I don't know what is best here because I'm not the only one involved in this.
Yeah.
If that does that make
Oh,
sense?
yeah, absolutely. And that's just for those who don't know, Kamertage is the training and education uh, space, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
for magic and Doctor Strange for sorcerers to
Yes.
be, yes. And so, yeah, I mean that's such a perfect analogy, and it kind of also reminds me of like we've been rewatching Orville because it's one of our favorites,
Yeah.
and it's set a few hundred years in the future, right? And they have at that point they in the storyline they had created the matter synthesizer, and so things like money just kind of went away because if you have something that can make anything you want, then the whole idea of money, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so, as they were talking about this with someone from what would be our society now, a very commerce focused society, she was like, "So then, what do you do? Like, do you guys just are you just bored? You just sit and do
Do
nothing, or
nothing. Yeah.
that like that's what I would do." And it's like, well, no, that's actually viewed. She
It's
was
like
like, "Yeah, no,
frowned
that's actually
upon.
frowned upon. That's viewed as a poor life. If you want to be rich, then it's not about how much money you gain. It's about you know you could spend your entire life uh, focusing on one skill. Like if you want to be, the best figure skater or the best scientist or the best waiter or the best pilot, it doesn't matter. Like all of it is viewed as equal. It's what effort are you putting into it? What reputation are you actually creating from it? Again, not from ego, but from valuing that time, energy, and effort along with aligned personal intention can actually create fulfillment.
Yes.
And so when we're looking at personal success and we're able to effectively tie those together, career and personal, because we have a clear understanding of what each are,
Yeah.
and we can find a way to maneuver them together or create some kind of harmony where they live together in parallel. That's really what I felt like they were talking about so well. They even talked about it's whether in their society it wasn't even just if you want to become the best at another, like if you want to spend your life learning about history, learning about um, space or different planets or the history of different cultures, and again this was set in the future and in space, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm bringing that up for clarity. Like that's viewed as a very noble thing to do as well. Like maybe you're not being the best at everything, but you're taking the time to really understand how the universe works or just the way that people or different, in this case different species, are. And so I thought that was such a beautiful understanding of how, that's it's not the way that things work here right now. But, with AI and all these different things, it's a far less of a stretch than it was just 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And if we were to just take the bigger picture of that and recognize that it really is about understanding, you know, in school, we're never taught, what is it going to be for you to find personal success and fulfillment? That's
Yes.
never a conversation or a reflection or a question that we ever have,
No.
which is mind blowing to
It's
me.
what are your skills and how are you going to create a career based on those skills?
Yeah.
Which again goes right back into how are you going to plug into a system versus how is your soul going to find your actual joy,
Yes.
right?
Right. And when
And
that's
so,
pushed on you and there's no room for you to be able to, understand your soul's desire, like no wonder the inner critic comes in.
and it's challenging. That's again the point of let's understand how to take the current system and move into the desired system because we can't go from current system straight into something like you just described with the Orville, right? There has to be, we have to stage it in a way that feels adaptable for us because we are emotional beings who are emotionally tied to our current system, right? We really are. So emotionally, we have to move ourselves through creating a structure that even sounds like the Orville sounds amazing. I don't know that there are many of us who would say, oh, that doesn't sound, that utopian approach sounds wonderful. I would love for myself or my kids or my kids' kids to move into something like that. But then there's also the hesitation and the fear. Of course, the inner critic plays into that. But there's a part of it that's like, "Oh, but what does that mean that I'm losing or I'm missing out on, and how can I get myself there?"
Mm,
And that is where we start learning all of these tools to navigate us through from where we are to where we actually do desire to get to, but only we can determine what that desire looks like too,
mm,
right? And that's the deep dive that we're talking about. Like we all have to desire the superhero we desire to be,
yes.
right?
The one way to know that is to create a really quality relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And so that flows beautifully into number three, which is all about relationships and emotional safety. And
Yes.
so oftentimes when we think relationships, we think about the relationships we have with everyone else, but not necessarily the relationship with we have with ourselves.
Yes.
And this book, Silence Your Inner Critic, is a practical guide to building a positive self relationship, right?
Yes.
So can you describe why
Self.
that's so important and how kind of it flows from inside to out in that way?
I noticed that every time I had a challenge with my relationships with others, it was always wherever I was, there I was, right? I always ended up having similar things that came to a head in those relationships. And so I was like, okay, so if there's a common denominator, and often that common denominator in a relationship where there seems to be a breakdown seems to be me, then that means that I need to go inward and figure out what is going on all over and up in here to understand how to break this pattern that's coming up. Because clearly, not all of the breakdowns in the relationships were everything I was doing, but there were some consistent ones, right?
Mm,
So if you ever reflect back over your relationships and you see themes as they are breaking down, then those themes are likely something that you're contributing to, right? It's kind of hard to say, no, they're not. They just always happen. Mathematically, that doesn't really resonate. That means that there's something that you're contributing to. So I was like, okay, I need to go within and create a relationship with myself because there's something happening inside of me that I don't have a good relationship with myself in this area or in these key areas. And that lack of having a positive relationship with myself in these areas is bleeding out and creating the same ripple effect in every relationship I have
Mhm.
because it is law of transitive property, right? As within, so without, right? If I have something going on in here, it's going to ripple out into everything outside of me.
Mm.
So I needed to go in here and navigate through all of the things that I was creating in my external relationships so that I didn't keep recreating them with every relationship I had.
Mm.
When I created that positive self relationship, when I got to know who I am thoroughly, love who I am thoroughly, I was honest with myself, even when I didn't like everything I saw, which was really not the easiest thing. But I don't have to like everything, right? I just have to love everything, which was a challenging concept in the beginning. I didn't like how I treated everyone in my life, but I needed to love myself enough to have compassion for where I was in my life at that time,
Mhm.
to know that I didn't know differently and have self forgiveness for how I was in those moments. But that then allowed me to know that I don't ever want to do that again. So, what actions do I need to take so that my inner critic doesn't keep using that as ammunition to say, you'll never do better than that?
Mhm.
You did it once, you'll never do better. That's the best you'll ever be. Well, the moment I could love myself for what I didn't like, then I stole its power. It no longer could use that as ammunition and say, well, that's the kind of person you are, just accept it.
Mm.
No, that's not the kind of person I am. That was the kind of person maybe I was for a moment, for like that 5 minutes when I did that, but that didn't define me, that was a choice. And so now I'm moving through it and I learned from it and I won't do that again. So actually the person I am is the kind of person who will learn from that and never do that again. So that's the person I am. That's my inner champion. Sorry, inner critic, not today. And the more you start to do that and you create that positive self relationship, then you stop judging others based on their actions at a point in their life. And you start loving them for who you know they are and not for who they appear to be during a single phase of their existence. And suddenly the world takes on a whole different view.
Mm. That's powerful.
It's pretty epic, I'm not gonna lie. You start seeing superheroes in everyone.
Yeah, I mean, just that perspective alone could really transform a lot of our relationships, even on a macro, economic scale or global political scale. Just in terms of how we um, trade with each other and how we actually just look at politics and how we do have foreign policy and those kind of things. Just that understanding alone could really make a difference in all this conflict and start to recognize that there's a lot more common ground,
Yeah. That
which is
doesn't mean
amazing.
that you let people walk all over you.
No, that's important. That's really important part. Yeah, that's still about having boundaries, and so these are all things that you talk about in the book and that we'll talk about in the retreat, and we definitely share to a degree, in all these different courses that we're building right now.
Yeah.
But if you really want to like dive deep into this kind of stuff, like this is where the in-person retreat's really going to make a difference, because this is what we'll be doing not only with each person but with each other
Yeah.
as well, which is huge.
It thoroughly shifts the way you look at even yourself, because I have to hold boundaries even within, and this always sounds so weird, but even within myself,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes your thoughts can, when you talk about the fact that 80% of the average person's thoughts are negative, 18% are like neutral, task oriented, and only 2% are positive, and then those are fleeting. I draw boundaries around negative thoughts, and it helps me because they'll pop up and I'm like, look, no, I have a very clear boundary now, inner critic. You are going to pop up, and I know that. But that doesn't mean I have to listen to you, other than say, I know you're saying this because you care and you desire me to know that something is going on that you desire to have a voice in. But now it needs to be constructive, not negative.
Mm.
And that's a boundary for me. So, subconscious, if you're attempting to tell me something, make it constructive, not negative. That is a boundary. And even my inner dialogue has gotten on board, or gotten the message that if you don't make it constructive, I am not listening anymore.
Mm.
It takes years of practice, years. I mean,
Sure.
so many years. But you can get to that point where you even have boundaries within your own inner realm of this is how it's going to go,
Yeah, I
right?
love that. We're definitely caught in this world of thoughts, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's the basis and the foundation in which we are interacting with the world. So the idea of and this might sound weird, but like the idea of not leading with your thoughts is a weird concept. You know, it's like, well, then how else would you
Get all
interact,
weird. Come on.
right?
Yeah.
And so this is where I feel is a really good segue into number four,
Yeah.
um, because this is when you stop focusing on the thoughts and get more into your heart.
Yep.
And that's why we have a podcast called the Heart Leader Podcast, because this is what it means to be heart centered, to lead with your heart. And this is a critical aspect of it. And again, this is something that we are all navigating, and it's something we don't talk about very often. And this is about spirituality and life purpose.
Yes.
And it's, you might hear people talk about spirituality and life purpose. And so you're like, well, if that we talk about it, like you hear it all the time. It's like, it's kind of like those are buzzword things these days.
Yep.
Sure, surface level,
Hmm.
but we're talking real deep understanding, like a deep dive into the alignment of who we are on a soul level and how we actually show up in this world. And this means everything from personal responsibility to understanding oneness and connection to leading with love, you know, all these different aspects. And so I'd love for you to really dive into this, because this one I'm super passionate about, and this is what you actually focus on during in your section of the flagship course that we'll be having, you know, coming out hopefully in September, and
Yeah.
like this is just an area that you've personally changed my life with this and this understanding. And so, and you've only, and that was, you know, starting 10 years ago, you know, coming up on 11. No, yeah, coming up on
I know.
11. Oh
Isn't
my
it
gosh, that's
crazy?
crazy. And so you've only gotten better and better at refining it. And so that's like, this is so important. And the inner critic shows up so intensely in this area because there's so much at stake. It's our soul, it's our authentic self. Like there's a lot at stake here.
First, I personally just want to say that I feel like there are a lot of people. I honor what you say about we go very, very deep, but I also want to commend a lot of people who do talk about this in a very deep level too, in their own way, just so
Sure.
we don't make it sound like others don't go deep, because there are just so many beautiful souls out there who are diving deep and really desiring to get to the heart and soul of spirituality. We just do it in a little different way. And we want to make certain that if this way resonates, we honor what resonates for everyone. But what I have found so deeply in this inner critic work for me, and then I shared with you and with others, and everyone's like, oh, holy wow, is how the inner critic itself, because it's so tied in with our ego and then the ego's need for separation and being individualized, and ego doesn't want to die. Ego death is almost as difficult, if not more difficult. More people are afraid of ego death than they are natural death.
Mm.
This is another thing that blew my mind when I heard the statistic. That's crazy. We're more afraid of losing our personal identity than we are of dying, actual dying. So when you think about that, right, that our ego has such a strong hold on us that we would sooner lose our lives than what we consider our own personal identity, then our inner critic and our ego have us in our crosshair. Then think about what that means for your spirituality, regardless of what you use as your religion. Because most of us, if we're looking towards something greater than self as our means of spirituality and our connection to that which is greater than self, but we're so afraid of losing our own identity, then how can we connect fluidly, seamlessly, 100% with that which is greater than self in all truth? Because we're too afraid. We see ourselves so much as separate from, not worthy of, smaller than, instead of a piece of, a connection to, a container for. All of these things that we'll talk about, we'll say, but the ego doesn't want us to truly embody, encompass, connect with, feel, integrate with, because it will die. It feels. Now, it's not truth. Our identity doesn't go away by connecting with that which is source, God, however you portray it. But the ego doesn't know that. And the inner critic certainly wants you to perceive that you will. So it wants you to stay small, to feel unworthy of the love that the universe, God, Allah, Tao, whatever path you've chosen to connect, it wants you to feel smaller than and to be separate from. So we spend our lives feeling unworthy of the connection, unworthy of the grace, unworthy of all of it, and feeling as though we need to go through intermediaries or something else or someone else in order to even get some level of grace or connection, instead of understanding that this hierarchy that we've even created there is actually inverse, and it's in here. It's always been in here. That spark, that light, that energy is us. And as we expand into it through love, we're already that infinite energy. We've just not noticed because we've been in that prison the whole time. That self-created 80% prison the whole time.
That recognition and understanding is very profound. It's to me, when we do have that perspective, it does allow us to go to a depth that we've never gone before. And so I appreciate you clarifying. What I meant earlier was specifically around surface level as a society. Like we are not, our society is not setting up for us to have these conversations. It's not a core component. It's not like spirituality and life purpose. It's there are amazing people talking about it,
Yeah.
but as a whole, it isn't. There's more dedication to learning other skills and going through those than there is this massive part of who we are and why we're here.
Yeah. Like
Like this is
silence the inner critic so that you
yeah,
can get in touch with all of the rest of it. Like
right.
get out of that 80% prison.
Yes, absolutely. It gives you the fuel to reshape and make that 2%, you know, 10x and then grow and grow and grow. And it's like it may never be 100%. We're not,
Yeah.
that's not, our perfection does not lie in the 100%.
No.
Our perfection, at least to me, lies in the ability to continue to get better. And
Yeah.
so if we have this opportunity to continue to get better, then it's not about 100%. It's about that, making something that was an uphill battle into something that is uncomplicated and a very like it just is.
Yes.
It's because we put all these things in our own way and we overcomplicate things.
Yes.
There's a big difference between complicated and complex.
Yes.
Complicated is pretty much impossible to scale. Complex allows for scalability, and the reason why it's complex, the reason why it scales is because there's simplicity in it.
Hmm.
And so oftentimes when we look at the universe and like what's around us, it feels complex because it's so big.
Hmm.
We can't understand. There's so many things going on. I mean, there's literally 9 billion plus or whatever it is at right now versions of what is happening on this earth in every now moment. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's how do we even comprehend? There's no
It's
way
like,
we can barely
what?
even comprehend what's
Yeah.
going on in our own world,
Yeah.
let alone that of 9 billion other people.
Yeah.
Right. And so so when we trace it back to the source of it, it's like, you know, in many ways we are, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not, again, it's not an ego thing. It's that we can't direct what else is going on,
Yeah.
what's going on in everyone else, but we can direct ourselves and we can uncomplicate things. We can align our souls, and then we can breathe who we are into our purpose.
Yeah.
And then we become purposeful and intentional in that which what we do.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's not about finding something. It's not about outside of self. It's not about all these things. Everything outside of us can support what's going on internally and accelerate what we're doing, whether that's a specific faith or a religion or a belief or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because that can be, as you beautifully say, all religion has faith, but not all faith has religion. And then all faith has belief, but not all belief has faith.
Right.
And so there's everyone, everyone fits in some category within that. And that's a beautiful thing because that means that we get 9+ billion other views to expand our awareness to allow for us to continue to get better.
And the core is for us to continue to recognize that we do not have to stay stuck in a self imposed prison,
Mm.
that we do have the power. It is our power to invoke our inner champion. Or if the superhero motif does not work for you, let me tell you, I love it, but maybe it isn't something that fits. Find whatever fits for you to just understand that you do not have to stay stuck in negative brain bias. You have within you the capacity to begin to take that 2% and expand it to 3%, expand it to 4%, expand it to 5%. It takes focus. It takes dedication, but we do it. We have the capacity to do it. So the choice is yours. Choose it. Actively choose it so that you're no longer going through your life feeling so stuck in what everyone else is telling you you have to do, be, experience. It becomes your life and you're the one who's directing it.
Thank you so much for writing this book and sharing your experiences and just setting the opportunity for everyone else to write theirs as well, and know that everyone has a unique way to approach the inner critic, and we can all learn. Like, this isn't um you know prescriptive, like it has to be this specific way.
No.
These are things that have been proven, tested, tested and proven. They work, but everyone's different. And so the more that we can get people to talk about this and have this community where we're supporting each other with resources and ways that we are silencing our inner critic, and ways that we're lifting each other up, and ways that we're seeing that, whether it's the divine self, or you're just seeing your authentic self, or however you want to call it,
Yeah.
you know that's what's important here. And so I just appreciate you taking this big leap in just providing a framework for us, like all of us, to dive in and become the greatest version of the grandest vision of who we are.
Well, thank you. It's fun.
It was
That to
fun.
me is the key too. Like, this is deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
But just because it's deep stuff doesn't mean it has to be heavy stuff.
Right.
I want to have fun.
Yes.
And this is a fun way to do the deep stuff. So let's play.
Let's play. Well, thanks for playing today.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This has been an incredible conversation with my love. I just love talking with her every week. So thank you for listening in with us. And if today really sparks something within you and you really feel a calling towards transformation, this retreat, the Silence Your Inner Critic Immersive Retreat, is going to be like, this is just what you got today is just a taste of it. And we'd be so excited to do a deep dive with you, personally understand where is the inner critic actually showing up in your life, and then providing a beautiful community of everyone that's there, working together to support each other as we go through these 4 common areas. And then we can dive into other areas too. So click the link below, check out in the description, see we've got some great information about the retreat. It's out in Paradise Valley, Arizona. So you can actually spend some quality time with us over 4 days. And if you really want to do get a bonus day, the 5th day, it's actually as a VIP or VIP plus. So we'd love to have you. We'd love to support you. You're going to have incredible stuff like food included in this beautiful venue. It's going to feel amazing. It's going to feel like this incredible retreat, this Kamartage retreat, if you will, this training for your soul. And you'll get an incredible supportive community with it, and some great tools that will support you for the rest of your life. That's our goal. That's our mission. That's our intention. That's our purpose. And that's why we're here, to support and help you. So if this really aligns with you, go ahead and click the link below, check it out. And if you have any questions, you can email us at support@suivera.org, and we'd love to help you out. In the meantime, if you're looking for more great content like this, just click over here, or maybe it's on this side. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one.